Hello aspirants. So the much anticipated NPSC latest syllabus has come, and Team Eduversity 2.0 thought that why don't we make a NPSC latest syllabus decoding series where we will decode the entire NPSC latest syllabus prelims, along with that all the 6 mains paper, GS paper 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so that aspirants who don't have much idea about the latest syllabus will know what GS paper 1 to 6 will look like, what they can study, what are the resources, okay. So in today's class, okay, in our first class, we are going to decode the NPSC GS paper 1. I want you to watch the video till the end, okay, and understand entirely how NPSC GS paper 1 looks like, okay, and what are the contents that you need to study and what are the resource lists that you can follow, okay. So first of all, NPSC GS paper 1, okay, is almost UPSC GS paper 1. Okay, so UPSC GS paper 1 and NPSC GS paper 1 are very similar. So NPSC GS paper 1 has got 6 major pillars. There is Indian heritage and culture, history and geography of the world, and the society. Okay, getting the point. So in the rest of the class, we are going to decode the entire NPSC GS paper 1. Okay, so if you see here in the pillar 1, okay, it is Indian heritage and culture. So when we talk about Indian heritage and culture, we are talking about the art and culture of India. And in the art and culture of India, okay, it is not given entirely in the syllabus, explained in the syllabus, but what you need to understand, okay, what you need to understand that in the art and culture of India, we have to study the Indian art forms, like we have to study the paintings, we have to study the dance, the music, the puppetry, the poetry, the theater, the martial arts. And not only this, apart from these, we also have to study the literature, like the Vedic literature, the Rig Ved, the Sam Ved, the Yajur Ved, the Arthava Ved, which book is the book of music, the book of prose and poetry, okay, the Buddhist literature, very important, then the Jain literature, Sangam literature, medieval literature, okay, and the modern Indian literature. Apart from these, we also, in the art and culture, we also have to study the architecture, which is very, very important. We will have to study the Harappan architecture, okay. We all have learned about the Indus Valley civilization, the lower city, the citadel, okay, the town planning, the poetry, okay, the bearded man, okay, the dancing girl, all of these, architecture we have to study. Then we have to study the Mauryan architecture. Then we have to study the temple architecture, the Nagara temple architecture, Dravidian architecture, Besara, okay, temple architecture. Then we have to study the cave architecture. In the cave architecture, like the Chetia, the Biharas, okay, Indo-Islamic architecture, like the tomb architecture, okay. Then the Mughal architecture, paintings, okay, mosque architectures, okay, colonial architecture, okay, Indo-Roman architecture, and the modern architecture we have to study, okay. Along with that, one very important topic, okay, that we have to study in the art and culture is the Bhakti and the Sufi movement. In the Bhakti and the Sufi movement, you have to study the important Bhakti saints, like, okay, Kabir, like Guru Nanak, like Tulsidas, Ramanuja, okay, what were their teaching, what was the social impact, okay, your Sufi saint like Khwaja, Nizamuddin Aulia, Moinuddin Chishti, what was their teaching, what was their social impact, so these all things will cover up in your art and culture, okay, that is Indian heritage and culture, okay. Now going forward in the pillar 2, okay, you have to study the history portion. So you will have to study, okay, the ancient Indian history, then the medieval Indian history, okay, modern Indian history, post-independence history, and the world history. So in the ancient Indian history, okay, you will have to study the prehistoric, okay, India. There is the Stone Age, all the Paleolithic age, Mesolithic age, okay, Neolithic age, then Chalcolithic age, okay, Iron Age, then the Indus Valley civilization. What was the town planning of the Indus Valley? How was the town planning of the Indus Valley civilization? How was their society? Okay, how was their economy? How was their, okay, religion? You got a point, right? Okay. After that, the arc and architecture of Indus Valley civilization, and how around, okay, 1500, how Indus Valley civilization declined, right? Okay. So Indus Valley civilization started around 2700 BCE, right? Okay. After that, it declined, okay, around 1500 BCE, right? Okay, so we all have to study about, okay, the prehistoric India, Indus Valley civilization in the ancient Indian history. Then we have to go and study the Vedic age, okay, the Aryan lifestyle, early Vedic age, okay, how was Aryan's lifestyle, their economy, their polity, their society. Later Vedic age, how the Aryan society got transformed, okay, the development of, okay, or the emergence of the Varna system, okay, how the women lost their significance in the later Vedic age, the formation of Rajan, okay, the formation of Jana to Janapadas. You got a point, right? Okay, their society, their religion, the Varna system, all of these things we have to study, okay, and how, okay, how all of these, okay, complex, society gave birth to the Jainism and the Buddhism, right? Okay, then apart from this, you have to study, okay, the Mahajanapada, the 16 Mahajanapadas. Okay, you also have to know their present, okay, name, their capitals, okay, their significance. Okay, then you have to know about the birth of Jainism, the birth of Buddhism, special focus, okay, on the Jainist monk, which are called the Tirthankars, okay. Then Buddhism, Gautama Buddha, okay, when was he born, okay, when was he born, at what age he attained enlightenment, okay, when did he preach his first sermon, where did he spend most of his time, what were his teachings, okay, the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path. You have to learn all of these things about the Jainism and the Buddhism. Okay, then apart from this, you also have to learn about the Mauryan Empire, okay, the formation of Mauryan Empire, how Kautilya, okay, to take revenge from Dhanananda, okay, has established, okay, the Mauryan Empire with the help of Chandragupta Maurya, how he raised Chandragupta Maurya, with the help of Arthashastra, right? Okay, so you have to understand Chandragupta Maurya, you have to understand Kautilya, you have to know, okay, Asoka, okay, one of the greatest Mauryan Empire, okay, how after the Kalinga War, Asoka embraced Buddhism, okay, and under which monk, okay, Buddhist monk, I guess Upagupta, under the Buddhist monk Upagupta, okay, Asoka embraced Buddhism, and after embracing Buddhism, how he preached Asok Dhamma. You got a point, right? Okay, then the administration of the Mauryan Empire, how with the help of Arthashastra, for the very first time, okay, there could be an empire. You got a point, right? The administration, the Dhamma of the Asok, we have to study. Okay, then going forward in the ancient India, okay, Indian history, we also have to study about the post-Mauryan period. In the post-Mauryan period, we have to study about the attacks of the Indo-Greek. We have to learn about the attack of the Sakas, the Kushanas, very, very important. The important, okay, king, okay, will be Kaniks, okay, how he will embrace Buddhism, okay, and how Kaniks will bring Silk Route to India, how he will establish the Mathura School of Art, the Gandhara School of Art, and how through Kaniks the Buddhism will bifurcate into two parts, okay, the birth of Mahayana Buddhism, then the Satavahana dynasty, how the Satavahana dynasty will be attributed, okay, for the cave architecture. You got it right. Okay, then you will study, okay, the rise of another empire, that is the Gupta age. Why the Gupta age is called as the golden age, okay, so why the Gupta age is called as the golden age, okay, because we will get to see the birth of yoga, philosophy, okay, the famous mathematician Aryabhat, Dhanvantri, okay, Brahma Gupta, the famous scholars, all of these will be in the period of Gupta age. then we will learn about the administration of Gupta age and how in the Gupta age, okay, the temple architecture will begin. Are you guys getting it? Okay, so you all have to study this section very properly. Okay, after Gupta age, okay, and not only this, along with this you also have to learn about the Gupta kings, you know, okay, Chandragupta I, Samudragupta, Chandragupta II, Kumar Gupta, how he founded Nalanda University, how Samudragupta was called as the Napoleon of India. You got a point, right? Okay, what was the Greek name, you know, okay, of Chandragupta I? You got a point, right? Okay, all of these things you will have to learn. Okay, then apart from this, you have to learn even the post-Gupta. In the post-Gupta, the rise of Harshavardhana. In the post-Gupta, the rise of Southern dynasty like the Pallav dynasty, the Chalukya dynasty. You have to learn the Pallav Chalukya king, okay, like Puleskin, like the Narasimha Burman, you know, okay. You have to learn the Rashtrakuta, the Cholas, the Pandyas, you know, in the you know, okay, southern region, how Chola Chera and Pandyas, okay, these kingdoms rose up, you know, okay, how Rashtrakuta was a part of the tripartite struggle. Are you guys getting it? Okay, so if you see here, this is how your ancient Indian history will look like. Okay, then in the unit 3, okay, we are going to study about the medieval Indian history. In the medieval Indian history, you know, okay, we have to study about the 5 dynasties, okay, the starting with, you know, okay, the slave dynasty. You will have to learn about, you know, okay, how the Arab invasion will take place, you know, okay, how defeating the Prithviraj Chauhan in the second battle of Terrain, you know, okay, Muhammad Ghori will establish himself as the king, you know, okay, and how he will give everything to the, you know, okay, Kutubuddin Aibak, his slave, and how the slave dynasty will start. In the slave dynasty, Kutubuddin Aibak, you know, okay, you have to know how he took the title of Luxembourg, you know, okay, how he started the Qutub Minar, okay, but Qutub Minar was dedicated to which Sufi saint? You got the point, right? That is very important. How Iltutmish, you know, okay, completed the Qutub Minar, okay, and how after that Balban, you know, okay, will take the title of the shadow of God, you know, okay. So you have to learn in deep about the slave dynasty. Then the Khilji dynasty, Alauddin Khilji, okay, his reforms, his market reform, branding of the horses like Dag, you know, okay. After that, you know, okay, developing some of the new strategies like Hulia, Chehra. You got the point, right? How he will start the measurement of land, okay. So Khilji dynasty you have to understand. Then the Tughlaq dynasty, you know, okay, Muhammad bin Tughlaq and all his, you know, okay, policies, you know, okay, shifting the capital from Delhi to Dolatabad, you know, okay. Then Firoz Tughlaq, you know, establishment of factory, Karkhana, marriage bureau, you know, okay. Then the Sayyid dynasty, and at last the Lodhi dynasty, and how, you know, okay, how Ibrahim Lodi will insult Daulat Khan, you know, okay, the governor, okay, and how Daulat Khan will invite Babur, you know, okay, and how Babur will come and Ibrahim Lodi and Babur will have the first battle of Panipat, you know, okay, where Babur will defeat Ibrahim Lodi and establish the Mughal Empire in, you know, okay, this subcontinent. Okay, then in the Mughal Empire you will have to study about the Babur, you know, how from 1526 to 1530 back to back he had battles, you know, okay. Humayun, his son, how Sher Shah Suri, you know, chased Humayun, okay. After that Akbar, okay, Akbar administrative policy, religious policy, you know, okay. After that, you know, okay, matrimonial policy, you know, okay. Then Jahangir, you know, okay, Jahangir policies, then Shah Jahan, and you have to learn how Aurangzeb will restore, you know, okay, restore the pure Islamic traditions, you know, okay, and how the Mughal Empire will decline. Are you guys getting it? Okay, then apart from this, side by side, in the medieval Indian history, you also have to study about the rise of the Marathas, right, okay, in the western region, then the Sur dynasty and the Deccan Sultanate. Okay, so these are, okay, the topics that you have to study in the ancient and the medieval Indian history. Now going forward in the history section, okay, you also have to study about the modern Indian history. In the modern Indian history, you have to study about, okay, the rise of the British power, the Carnatic War, Plassey, Boxer, Anglo-Mysore War, okay, then the socio-religious reform by the Rajaram Mohan Roy, you know, Swami Dayananda, Vivekananda, and the other important personalities. Okay, apart from that, you also have to study about the revolt of 1857. What were the causes of the revolt? Who were the leaders? What were the consequences of the revolt of 1857? Going forward, okay, going forward, you have to study about Indian national movement. In the Indian national movement, the moderate phase. How was the moderate phase from 1885 to 1905? How was the extremist phase? How was the Gandhian phase from 1990 to 1947? What happened? You know, okay, then in just around 30 years we got independence. You know, okay, how was Gandhi's, you know, okay, theology? How was Gandhi's, you know, okay, ideology? You got a point, right? Okay, how was Gandhi's, you know, okay, wisdom to understand that the Indian War of Independence is not a military war, but Indian War of Independence is a legal and a political war, you know, okay. So how Gandhi choose, you know, okay, the principle, the doctrine of non-violence, you got the point, right? So Mr. Gandhi's role, then important topics, non-cooperation, civil disobedience movement, Quit India movement, INA, partition, all the INA sessions you have to know very well what happened on those sessions, you got the point, right? Okay. Going forward in the Indian modern history, you also have to, yeah, those portions should be okay. Okay, now going forward, okay, you have to study the post-independence India, which is very, very important. Okay, what happened after the independence? So in the post-independence India, first of all, you will have to study about the nation building. How does the nation building took place? Britishers left us in destitution. So how our founding father built the nation, how they integrated the princely states in India, because India was on the making, you got a point, right? And princely state had the liberty to choose whether to be a part of the India or not. So how the, you know, okay, founding father built the nation integrating the princely state, how the State Reorganization Act was passed, how linguistic movement started, how on the basis of language Andhra Pradesh was being created as the first state, you know, okay. Then how, what was the foreign policy, okay, post independence? How was our non-alignment movement, which is called NAM? The entire world, you know, okay, was in the era of Cold War, right? Okay, between the USSR and USA. Okay, so you will get to see, you know, okay, that India choose to have non-aligned movement during the time of Cold War, right? Okay, then the Panchil, okay, then India-China war, India-Pakistan war, India's nuclear policy. So all of these things also we have to study in the post-independence history. Okay, now going forward, okay, we have to study about, okay, the economy, okay, the planning, the green revolution, how, you know, okay, India, you know, okay, stood, you know, strong in its economic pillars, you got a point, right? Okay, then the politics of India, one party dominance, you got a point, not the multi-party system but one party dominant, how the emergencies were being enforced, you know, okay, the positive, you know, aspect of emergency as well as the cons of emergency during those period, coalition era, you know, okay, how we get to see the political instability. Then apart from this, the society, women's movement, Naxalism, science and technologies, and the policy in the post-independence, we all have to cover in the GS paper, you know, okay, 1, okay, in this. Now going forward, okay, we have to study the world history also. Okay, so see this, the history become a very, very large part. Apart from the art and culture, you have the ancient history, the medieval history, the modern history, the post-independence India, okay, and the world history. Okay, so if you see here now, in the world history, you have to study, okay, the beginning of the modern world, the Renaissance period, the Reformation, Industrial Revolution, you know, okay, I believe that many of you have studied about it, you know, okay, the American Revolution, the French Revolution, we all have studied, you know, okay, during our school days, you know, okay, so nationalism, unification of Italy, unification of Germany, you know, okay, after that your colonialism and imperialism, World War I, Russian Revolution. Okay, so you see in the world history, you won't find a very unknown topic or unseen topic. Most of the topic that you see, okay, in during your, okay, school days, okay, you would have touched this, okay. So if you just, okay, go through it, I think that you will be able to study and understand the world history, okay. After that, Cold War, decolonization, collapse of Soviet Union, okay, and the other political ideology, the ideology of capitalism, okay, how USA moved to capitalism, socialism, communism. You got a point, right? Okay, communism. Okay, now going forward, okay, going forward in the world history, okay, these sections, okay, should be these are the section that you need to cover up. Okay, now the last pillar 4, okay, unit 7, okay, that is your Indian society, okay, the Indian society. Now in the Indian society, apart from this also some other pillars are there. In the Indian society, this is one okay, this is one area where you need to pay attention. Okay, Indian society, we will have to study about okay, in the Indian society, the Indian society and its diversity, the Indian society and its diversity, the caste diversity that our Indian society has, the tribe diversity that our Indian society has, the religion diversity, the language diversity that okay, our Indian society had. Every 100 kilometer, okay, everything get changed, that, right? Okay, India is a land of diversity, right? Okay, we have caste diversity, tribe diversity, regional diversity, language diversity, and that's why we believe in unity in diversity. You got a point, right? USA believe in unity in uniformity. So how India believe in unity and diversity, and how India accommodate diversity in this land, and how beautifully our constitution, okay, also pay honor and respect and justify diversity in our country, we will have to study in the society and diversity. Okay, now in the society and diversity, we will also study some of the important topics. Okay, we will also study some of the important topics like the women and the women organization. Okay, after that, demographic dividend, aging population, population policies. Okay, poverty and development, the urbanization, globalization, the impact of globalization on Indian societies. You got it, right? Okay, then social empowerment. Okay, communalism, regionalism, and secularism, okay, which is very important. How secularism, the very fabric of secularism, okay, at present, okay, has to be maintained, right? Okay, before it was communism versus secularism, but now it is secularism versus nationalism. Okay, so you really have to understand the spirit of secularism, okay, in India. Now going forward, we will go to the Pillar 5, which is the geography, one of the most important subjects on your GS paper 1. In the geography, okay, first of all, you will have to study about the physical geography of India. When I say the physical geography of India, these are the topics, okay, which will have to be covered up. In the geomorphology, okay, in the geomorphology, you will have to study about the origin and evolution of Earth, interior of Earth, rocks and rock cycle, plate tectonics, continental drift, earthquake, volcano, mountain building. Along with that, you have to also study, in the physical geography, oceanography, then ocean floor, continental, shelf, then continental slope, deep sea plain, ocean temperature, so ocean salinity, ocean current, wave, tides, marine ecosystem. And not only this, okay, you also have to study the climatology and the soil geography in the physical geography, which is very important. You have to study the atmosphere, the insolation, heat budget, temperature, pressure belts, which are very important. Monsoon, okay, monsoon itself is a very big domain, okay. Cyclones, okay. Then in the soil geography, soil formation, soil profile, soil erosion, land degradation, which is a very important, okay, topic. And land degradation will be connected to the SDG also, okay, very important. Okay, now apart from this, the physical geography, okay, you have to study the Indian geography also, which is very important. Okay, so in the Indian geography, if you see, you have to study thoroughly the location of India, the physiographic division of India. You have to study the Himalayas, the northern plains, the peninsular plateau, the coastal plains, the islands, okay, Indian monsoon, which is very, very important. Then the Indian soil, agriculture, okay, after that mineral resources, energy resources in India, okay. Then going forward, okay, in the Indian geography, okay, you will have to study all of these things, okay. Now going forward, we have reached to the pillar 6, which is your world geography, okay, world geography. And in the world geography, I will show you what are the things you will have to study, okay. So in the pillar 6, okay, in the pillar 6, now if you see in the world geography, first of all you have to study, okay, the continents and the oceans, the major mountain system, major rivers of the world, deserts, grassland, forest, okay, world climate region, distribution of population, very, very important, and distribution of resources, primary, secondary, tertiary industries, of the world. You got a point, right? Okay, including Southeast Asia, okay, all of these things you will have to study in the world geography, okay. Now going forward, okay, you also have to study the resources geography, okay. In the resources geography, you have to understand the land resources, the land use, land degradation, land conservation, forest resources, type of forest, distribution, deforestation, causes of deforestation, okay. After that, conservation, what are the conservation, the government of India is doing, okay, like that. After that, you have to study the water resources, surface water, ground water, you have to know also the latest data, of India's groundwater, okay. After that, river system in India, water conservation, agriculture resources, cropping pattern, very, very important. A lot of question UPSC asks each year on the cropping patterns, then the types of farming, food security in India, very big domain, okay, and the agriculture productivity. Now if you see, these are the topics you have to cover up in the resource geography. And apart from these, okay, if you go forward, you also have to study the mineral resources in the resource geography: iron ore, coal, petroleum, natural gas, okay, magnesium, bauxite, distribution in, India and the world. What are the mineral resources which are distributed, okay, in the world, distribution in India and in the world, okay, very, very important. Then you also have to study the energy resources: conventional energy, non-conventional energy, solar energy, wind energy, like the National Solar Mission you have to study, right? Okay, National Solar Mission you have to study. You got a point, right? Okay, what is India doing in the solar mission, right? Are you getting a point, right? Okay, how much energy India want to generate through the renewable energy by 2030? You got a point, right? Okay, so present solar, okay, energy generating capacity, wind energy, hydropower, nuclear energy. So this is very, very important. Energy resources is a very, very important topic that you need to keep in mind, and you need to be updated with the latest data, guys, okay, very important. Now going forward, okay, you see, you also have to study the industrial geography. In the industrial geography, you really have to know about the raw material, labor, market, transport, power sector, water, capital, okay, government policy in the industrial geography, okay, communication technology, okay, what is the communication technology the government is using, okay. After that, the major industry that you have to learn, okay, iron and steel industries, cotton textile industries, IT industries, automobile industries, petrochemical industry, agro-based industries, food loss industries. These are very, very important, okay. You have to have an idea about all of this, okay. Now at last, unit 12, the geophysical, okay, phenomena. Now the most important is your geophysical phenomena, where, okay, in the geography section you have to know about the okay, your earthquakes, tsunami, okay, the region of the behind tsunami, volcanic activity, cyclones, okay, how to prevent cyclones, landslide, causes of cyclone, landslide, causes of landslide, okay, how to prevent landslide, floods, okay, what are the causes of floods, okay, how climate change, okay, causes flood, okay, how to prevent floods, you got a point, right? Okay, how sustainable cities help in flood management, smart agriculture, you got a point, right? Okay, changes in water bodies, melting of ice caps, changes in flora and fauna, and environmental impact of such changes. Are you getting it? So geography is a very big domain, okay, but please don't be afraid, it is conquerable, okay. You can follow some of the good sources for the geography, okay. And if you find the geography a little tough, I would suggest you that many of the aspirants, they study the Norman Lowe, okay, Norman Lowe, so GC Leong, okay. GC Leong is a very good book, okay. You can study GC Leong also, or you can also study the class 11 NCERT geography, okay, and the class 12 also, okay. Now, so this is how, okay, you have to learn the entire GS paper 1, okay. So what I want you to understand is that in the syllabus it has given briefly, okay. Here I have decoded comprehensively the entire GS paper 1, okay. So now don't get confused that here it is written something different here and sir is decoding something else. I have just break it down, okay, and within every topic what are the subtopics that you have to study, I have given it all in detail here, okay. So what I want you to do right now, okay, is okay, please make sure that you are getting the access to this PDF which will be uploaded in our Telegram channel, okay. Plus one very important information which I want you to give is like Eduversity, okay, was okay, prepared for the latest change, hence we already have printed out the latest syllabus books. Just okay, few days back it has arrived from Delhi, okay, a set of almost 24 books, so if you want the latest syllabus books, okay, then you can call in the Eduversity Civil Service bookstore and you can get access to this latest syllabus books. And not only this, we also got in our bookstore some of the best institutions of India's book, okay, like the Vision IAS entire kit will be available at Eduversity. Apart from the Vision IAS, you will also have the Bajiram and Ravi entire books are available. Then very renowned, okay, your District IAS books are available. Then Forum IAS, okay, then the Olni IAS by Physics Wala. So all the top institutions of India's books are also available at Eduversity, okay, bookstore. So thank you so much, okay. I hope that this video will help you to understand GS paper 1. Please feel free, okay, to drop your queries on the comment section, and I would really appreciate if you can share these videos to the aspirants who are in the district so that they can also learn about the NPSC GS paper 1. One more time I'm telling that in the syllabus, okay, it has just given briefly. Here I have decoded comprehensively the GS paper 1. So in my next class I will be decoding GS paper 2. So make sure that you are watching that one also. Thank you so much.